So today I'd run the risk of the internet getting mad at me. That's just my life, so it's okay. But after all this recent furore, when it came to Cagematch, I was like, alright, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to see who they deem to be the worst wrestlers ever. As you're about to see, this is why you should always take everything with a grain of salt. It's also another great reminder that you should just enjoy wrestling for what it is. Because look, it's not Cagematch's fault, it's just the way the system works. But here's the list. And it's stupid. Number 10, Quincy Elliot. He has a 1.34 out of 10 rating on Cagematch. 1.34. As of me talking as well, he's only had 59 matches since he debuted in 2018, and 27 of those were on NXT, so really we don't know what kind of wrestler he is. And of course, yes, there's a bunch of reports that backstage he was quite difficult to deal with, but as ever, we don't know what the deal is there. And if you do, please, comments below. When you did watch Quincy though, it kind of felt like he was being deliberately over the top and he was doing a whole wink wink nudge nudge to gimmicks of the past. It was alright. Just silly entertainment. I'm not trying to say he's some kind of wrestling savant ever, and when the bell did go ding ding, it was quite clear he was a work in progress. But that's the whole point. He was basically green. The real talking point does seem to be his behavior, which is then rolled on into this. But I really don't think when you've barely had any actual pro wrestling fights that you can determine somebody as absolute crap. Number 9, Eva Marie. This one makes me mad. That's right. Now sure, in terms of bell-to-bell action, Eva Marie was not the most skillful or competent wrestler, but I'm sure she would be the first person to tell you that. I mean, she was there as well, but of course when we go to Cagematch, she has a rating of 1.3 out of 10. When it came to the overall package though, I thought that Eva was actually quite entertaining, especially when she had that gimmick where she would come up with excuses about why she wasn't allowed to wrestle. I thought that was genuinely funny. There was also an obvious effort to try and improve, and let's just bring some context into this. When Marie was hired, it was when WWE had decided we only care about what you look like. Now that's not big and it's not clever, but very sadly it was the fact. So if you do want to judge somebody about what they did in the ring, you are more than allowed to do that. But to me that's just kind of forgetting about the sports entertainment side of things. I just don't know, man. Another one that feels a bit unfair. Number 8, the Giant Gonzalez. Alright. You've got me here. I don't know what to say. I mean, the Giant Gonzalez wore a muscle suit with hair on it. And here we are decades later, and I still don't know why that was. I suppose the one thing he does have going for him is that The Undertaker never actually defeated him properly at WrestleMania. Because don't forget, he chloroformed the dead man. The contest was kind of just thrown out the window. Why are we talking about this? I do think you have to know what you're getting when you hire Gonzalez, though, because he was just a really, really tall dude. Didn't actually have much athletic ability. He was mostly there because he would turn heads in airports. It was the same in WCW, so I just hold my hands up here. He was a visual monster. Outside of that, well, he didn't really have much. 1.27 out of 10. Number 7, Dan Mather. So this is not going to go well for me, because for a good solid few years there, when Dan Mather was running through NXT, all I got in social media was, ha ha ha, you look like Simon Miller. Well, just bald, get over it. Amazingly though, he was in the WWE system for 6 years where he had 182 matches. And in many ways, he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was like an old school individual in a new school NXT. He was part of a very cool angle though, because on the 5th of October 2016 episode of NXT, we sold it like, oh my gosh, it's going to be the night of Dan Mather. Here he goes. When Samoa Joe walked out, absolutely wrecked him. And instead, everyone was like, oh, we were wrong, it's time for Joe. The truth is, Dan never really tapped into his potential, which is why he was released in 2020. Still, 1.20 out of 10 on Cagematch. Worse than Eva Marie. Number 6, Eli Cottonwood. So this was a weird gimmick. Once again, I'm not really sure what it was. Eli did indeed go from teacher to wrestler to commentator though. And by the end of things, he was basically like the Vince McMahon of NXT. Kept on giving people orders. It just felt like he was part of an NXT that didn't really have much of a direction, which is why he only had 72 matches between 2009 and 2012. I'd also imagine that it was things like this that caught the attention of Triple H, and he was like, damn it, I'm gonna go down there and sort it out. The thing is, Cottonwood never did much of anything, so he should really just be in the corner hanging out and playing Nintendo. But no, 1.12 out of 10. Number 5, Sara. So this just never should have been a thing. Why the Undertaker felt the need to involve his current wife in a storyline is just baffling. And why somebody decided she should have a match, I don't know. It got even worse because her most prominent role was when her and her husband were being stalked by someone when we decided to make that person DDP. I mean, talk about not understanding somebody's character. Of course, she also whooped Diamond Dallas Page's ass on an episode of Raw, which I will never get over. So this time, when we do get to the 0.96 out of 10, I mean, it kind of makes sense, but also, was she ever a proper wrestler? No, she wasn't. Number 4, Nicole Bass. So as soon as China blew up in WWE, the company were always going to want another version, and they found it in Nicole Bass. Making a name for herself on the Howard Stern show of all things, she got hired by ECW, and as soon as other wrestling companies knew that she was jacked, well, they made her an offer. She was booked to be Sable's bodyguard, which kind of did make sense, but once again it comes down to the era. This was during a time when Vince McMahon told his female talent, "We don't want you to wrestle like the men." It's one of the most stupid statements of all time. Nicole did get a little bit of a push as a monster, but when it didn't work out, she was released, and she did do a few independent bookings until 2002, when she just gave it up. It means her rating will always be 0.83 out of 10, but forget all that, because very sadly she did pass away a few years ago. That is way too young. Number 3, Brackus. Brackus, a man hired by Vince McMahon because he was massive. That was it. Look at him. Jack. The company was so high on him though and desperate for him to get better, he did work the house show circuit alongside the likes of Bret Hart and Dr. Tom Pritchard, who would come out as the dreaded Mr. X. Given he did top out at 0.75 out of 10 though, well, I don't think that worked. Even with that, everybody was so desperate for something to click, they threw him in the Brawl for All, hoping he would knock somebody out. But instead, Savio Vega gave him a beating. We tried a final time about a month later where he did squash Jesus. Everybody decided to just draw a line under this. And look, I've already told you, Brackus there was because he was really good in the gym. That was about it. Number 2, Amy. I'll be honest, I do not remember Amy. Cagematch definitely does though, because she clocks in at 0.54 out of 10, but she only had 2 matches, and if you go and watch either of them, well, it's total nonsense. She was very much part of the Diva Surge era, and even though she finished last in the 2006 competition, WWE still sent her down to OVW to get some training. It gets even better though, because her only real active competition was in things like bikini contests. And there's an amazing story out there that apparently when she was talking to management about her creative future and somebody mentioned Stephanie McMahon, she went, "Who's that?" Done. It did turn out that she was going to be Jimmy Wang Yang's girlfriend for a few months when everyone decided this ain't working at all. I don't think we should do this. And she was released. And I think that was the best for both pies. And number 1, Gable Stevenson. Yep, Gable Stevenson right now currently has a 0.27 out of 10 rating on Cagematch, making him the worst wrestler of all time. Now this is mostly off the back of that match he did do at the Great American Bash against Baron Corbin, and I'll tell you this. 1, no, it was not ideal, and 2, it had nothing to do with Baron. Let's just be honest though, we have seen way worse with this, and the problem right now is that Gable quite clearly isn't getting it, and a couple of years ago, people started to say, oh, he's the next Kurt Angle. You never say that. It sounds like he's totally done with Olympic wrestling now, so he can focus on the pro wrestling version. And yes, he does need to do this. He does need to improve. But in no universe am I going to stand here and tell you he is the worst wrestler ever, because he's not. I also kind of feel like WWE's just invested way too much money and time. But we'll have to wait and see. Because as of this day, well, he's rock bottom. Now let's carry on this negativity with 10 matches you hated even before you saw them, which always makes me chuckle. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Leave a comment below, and you'll probably agree with some of this list. You're allowed, but come on now. Otherwise, take care of yourself, my friends. See you soon.